Thank you for staying with us. My name is Vivian Degwa. This is Good Morning Kenya, and we officially get into Matters Health. Health Check is the segment on air right now, and today we are having a focus on compassionate and palliative care, specifically for cancer patients. We're going to be looking beyond the treatment, beyond diagnosis, and look at what palliative care is all about. We're having a run through on matters oncology, and joining me for that conversation is one Dr. Emma Nalianya. Dr. Emma, right there she goes. She's joining us live on Zoom, and that is Dr. Emma Nalianya, who is a general practitioner at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital from the Oncology Department, and she will be talking to us about compassionate care, palliative care, what that is all about, how does that look like. If you have any questions for our doctor this morning, feel free to ask the question. The number is 0716-103-301, 0716-103-301. That is the number that you can be able to send us a WhatsApp message. Just send in your WhatsApp message and ask a question, and our doctor, or she'll be right back. She will be talking to us about that and getting to answer some of your questions. Now, when we talk about palliative care, we are looking beyond the prescription treatment. You know, how does that look like beyond the chemotherapy, beyond the radiotherapy, beyond the surgeries, and just looking at how to ensure that cancer patients that we may be having in our homes are still feeling seen, are still being heard, and still feel very supported. That is exactly what we will be looking about, we'll be talking about this morning, and we get to look at some of the differences between, when we talk about compassionate care, how does it differ from palliative care as well as hospice. And I believe we have her back. If you can have her on our screens. There we have her. Dr. Emma, good morning.
Good morning, Vivian. How are you today?
I'm doing well this morning. It's a pleasure to have you on the show on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Let's talk about this topic that we're having today, and let's get direct to the definition. When we talk about compassionate care, what does that mean? When you talk about palliative care, what does that mean? Kindly break it down for us.
Okay, thank you so much. So compassionate care is basically a holistic approach to care that addresses the patient's physical needs, emotional needs, spiritual needs, and ensuring that the patient is as comfortable as possible. And it's actually it's the basis of quality care. On the other hand, palliative care is usually associated with end-of-life care, but it doesn't just deal with end-of-life care. It also deals with ensuring that the patient is comfortable, and palliative care can be introduced at any point in the treatment of a cancer patient, right from the time of diagnosis, during treatment, after treatment, and so on. So they're a bit different. Compassionate care does not necessarily need specialized training, but palliative training actually needs specialized training, because there is a lot that needs to be done differently, and a lot that needs to be understood from the patient's perspective.
How different is it from hospice?
Could you please come again? I didn't hear that.
How different is it from hospice treatment or care?
I cannot hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. I'm asking, how different is palliative care and compassionate care to hospice?
How do I do what?
How different is it from hospice care?
Okay. So hospice care is usually for patients who are at the end of their life. They cannot get any medical treatment like chemotherapy, surgery, and so on, or even radiotherapy. So hospice care is for those patients who are approaching their death, and it's just to like make them as comfortable as possible, because like they at that moment they do not need any form of treatment, and their body is too weak to even sustain any form of treatment at that point.
Okay. All right, so that is the difference between the two, or rather the three, from compassionate to palliative and hospice. Now, today we're focusing on palliative and compassionate. When do we get to introduce the palliative care that is to a cancer patient? What stage?
So, palliative care can be introduced at any time during the the treatment or management of a cancer patient, right from diagnosis. The palliative team should have a sit down with the patients and the relatives, so that they get to understand what the disease is, what to expect in terms of treatment, and sometimes the cost is also discussed at that point, and they are also able to share their expectations, what they're expecting from the treatment, and they're also told how the disease is going to be, for example, the prognosis, and how some things to expect in the course of treatment, like side effects of the treatment and the changes that are going to take place. For example, some patients are not able to go to work, and they're given support on how to cope with that, because it's very different. It can also be introduced, it can also be followed up during the treatment of the patient to find out the feelings of the patient, what they feel towards whatever is going on, and they can be helped to cope, because it's quite difficult coming to terms that someone has cancer, how to navigate the treatment, and even the cost is usually a burden at times. So like palliative care usually just offers support to ensure the patient and the relatives are as comfortable as possible.
So it is given alongside the curative treatments.
Yes, it is given alongside the curative treatment.
Yeah. Why is it also very crucial for us to focus on the palliative care side of it?
Yeah, to have a holistic approach to care, you also need to take care of the patient's other needs, because it's not only the medical needs that the patient has. The patient also, for example, some have lost their power to perform their activities of daily living. Some are unable to feed themselves. So you come and offer support and ensure there is someone there to feed them. You address their spiritual needs, if they have any, their emotional needs, to ensure that they're not very fearful or very anxious, and you encourage them to live in the moment and just take one step at a time. So, like, not worry so much about the future, because we'll deal with the problems there when we get there.
Yeah.
But we should also anticipate what expected outcomes are.
Yeah, I can imagine most times it's a difficult conversation. So how do you go about approaching these difficult conversations, about the prognosis and also one's quality of life, and how maybe life may change for them, or end of life choices?
So it's actually a very difficult conversation, and you start small and give it in little bits. For as much as they can take it in, you start from where they are, so that you add on to what they know already, then you build it from there. You take them step by step and ensure that every aspect is actually taken care of. And end of life care is actually a very difficult conversation, because most people don't want to. If people had an opportunity to live forever, maybe they choose to live forever. So it's not a very easy conversation to have. But at the end of the day, we will all die one way or another. Some through cancer, some through other means. So it is actually a difficult conversation to have. But step by step, people are able to come to terms with it. Most people are able to come to terms with it, and those that are not able to come to terms with it, we work with them through the entire process, and involve a multidisciplinary team, including psychologists to talk to them whenever there is need, the palliative nurses, there are also doctors and any other person who is able to add input.
Yeah. While I was doing my intro, I talked about ensuring that the patients feel seen, they feel heard, they feel supported. Maybe how do you go about that? You know, for the care teams, how do they go about ensuring that this patient is feeling seen? They're feeling, you know, that they're being heard.
Yeah, I think the most important way is by actively listening to understand, not listening to judge. Or, for example, if someone keeps telling you that they feel pain, you give them painkillers and they still feel the pain, it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be a bother. Sometimes it's because the medication that you're giving is not strong enough, so you need to add medication. When they have any issues that they want to raise, you should just actively listen to understand and not to respond, because sometimes we are not able to know exactly what the patient is feeling, and we assume the patient should not be feeling this way. But if they tell you they're feeling that way, they're actually feeling that way, and they're telling you because they know you are able to help, and you should approach it with kindness and actively listen to actually help, not to respond.
Yeah. What is the role of family members or the caregivers who are, you know, taking care of the cancer patient? What is their role in when it comes to palliative care?
So their role is to actually support the patient in any way they can, and sometimes issues can arise from patient care. Maybe a patient can be telling you a complaint, then like your role as a patient support is to not amplify the issue, because you understand that you as a family member who's supporting the patient, if you're feeling affected in that way, can you imagine how the patient himself or herself is actually feeling? So you try to address issues and not try to amplify them. For example, giving them hope and not saying like it is very, very bad, you've never seen something like that. You're just giving yourself, making the effort and also finding support for yourself, because it's not easy to take care of cancer patients. So even you need to seek support, maybe join a support group for cancer patient caregivers, and so on, so that even you yourself are actually helping the patient. And whenever there is a problem, or whenever you are not getting an outcome that you're expecting, you also don't give up, because maybe the patient is actually relying on what is going around them, and just using that to gain a little bit of hope. So if you diminish their hope, maybe they could give up, and you don't know if they're just there because they're seeing the support that is being offered to them.
Yeah. So it is really, really crucial for those who are around the person who is battling cancer to be present and to ensure that the patient feels seen and loved. Now, maybe how does compassionate care approach differ when it comes to different treatments of different cancers? Does it differ, for example, when you look at breast cancer, would it be different from looking at something like maybe cervical cancer?
Yeah, I think it would differ, because compassionate care is patient-centered, and you're actually addressing the patient's needs and the issues that they're facing at that time. For example, someone with breast cancer can have one of their breasts can be operated on, it can be removed, and that changes their body, and they will need support for body image and so on. And the same applies to cervical cancer for body image, because sometimes they produce some discharge that is not very pleasant to smell, and even during the course of treatment and after the treatment, they would need support, they themselves and their family, because that is the reproductive organ that has the disease, and some forms of treatment can actually tamper with things like reproduction. For example, if someone is given undergoes radiotherapy because of cervical cancer, it could affect reproduction later. And for such a patient, you would want to discuss fertility preservation. If they're very young and they want to preserve their fertility, we discuss that before starting the treatment so that everyone is at the same page when going through the treatment.
Mm-hmm. So looking at other cancers, for example, if we can take a look at cancer of the esophagus or colorectal cancer, these are cancers that may actually maybe interfere or bring difficulties when it comes to eating or digestion and things surrounding that. Maybe how do you go about, offering compassionate care to such patients?
Yeah, for a patient with esophageal cancer, they will definitely, most of them will have a problem with feeding. Mm-hmm. And for such patients, we recommend that they get a feeding tube that is put to their stomach. Sometimes it's put through the mouth with a scope. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's open surgery that is done to put the tube in the body so that they're able to get the nutrition they need in order to continue the treatment. And such a decision is not easy to make because everyone wants to feel the taste of food in their mouth, but unfortunately not everyone is able to get that luxury. Mm-hmm. And as for colorectal cancer, sometimes someone can get obstruction and they might need a diversion to be able to pass through the stool through a stoma. It's just basically a hole that's created on the skin to be able to pass stool. Mm-hmm. So such a person's life has changed because now they are supposed to walk around with a bag carrying stool, and that is really not an easy decision to make, but it's a decision that is helpful to the patient because otherwise they would not be able to pass stool. So you just talk to them slowly. Most patients might not accept it at first, but once they understand the implications properly, they are able to come to terms with it and just accept the things the way they are.
Mm-hmm. Can any kind of doctor probably, or what kind of training should one go through to be able to be, a compassionate caregiver, or get to give the palliative care rather? Is there a specific training? Mm-hmm. Do you have to?
I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think compassionate care is actually the basis of quality care, and I think anyone who has gone through school, medical school, nursing school, I think everyone who works in the hospital should be able to provide compassionate care even without specialized training, because that is just based on values like being kind, being empathetic, and all that. Mm-hmm. But for palliative care, there is some training that one has to undergo because there's a lot there, end-of-life care, like pain management and so on, and that for that someone really has to undergo proper training because it's not easy, and also being able to know how to handle difficult days because sometimes you can be things can take an emotional toll on you, and you should be knowing ways on how to deal with that, because if you don't take care of yourself, you'll not be able to take care of others.
Mm-hmm. And speaking about that, for the caregivers at home, I know sometimes it may be overwhelming. One may experience burnout when they are, in that process of looking after their loved one. Maybe are there systems put in place for them when it comes to palliative care?
For that, I think it would come in when we are having family conferences and they accompany the patient to the hospital or they come to visit the patient. We are able to talk to everyone there and understand the concerns of each and everyone, and we are able to advise them to the best of our ability. And at this time, I would like to advise them to seek support, because it's not easy taking care of cancer patients, and they can do so by joining support groups of cancer patient caregivers. I know of Kilele and I think Limau caregivers. They can join that and be able to find out how every other person is able to cope with that. They should also take breaks to recharge, because you will not be able to pour from an empty cup. And they should also prioritize their well-being, because if they are not able to, they're not prioritizing their well-being, they will not be able to take care of the patient to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
So they should always seek support and speak up whenever they feel like they need support.
Now, for the longest time, cancer has been viewed as a death sentence, which is not truly the case. Because, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So I was saying, for the longest time, cancer has been viewed as a death sentence, but it's not really the case, because, I mean, people receive treatment. Treatment has advanced nowadays, and one can be able to fully heal and continue with their day-to-day life and live a quality life after all. Maybe if you can just demystify that thought of, the moment one has cancer, that is it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that when someone hears that so-and-so has cancer, they're just thinking, oh, they're going to die very, very soon. Yeah. And that is why I want to talk about screening for cancer. Early screening can actually save a lot in terms of resources, and also in terms of the emotional toll it will take on you, because if cancer is diagnosed very early, it has better outcomes compared to when it's diagnosed when it has advanced and spread to other parts of the body. And I would briefly talk about the five commonest cancers in Kenya, like breast cancer, colorectal cancer, cancer of the cervix, prostate cancer, and esophageal cancer. So at KUTRH, we screen for all these cancers, and for breast cancers, we usually do mammography for patients who are above 40 years old, and for younger patients, we have other ways of screening, and everyone should also learn how to examine their breasts. Every female needs to know how to do that, because you should not wait for someone to tell you there is a problem here. You should know how it usually looks, how it usually feels, so that when there is a change, you are the first to notice, and you don't wait to go to the hospital and be told, oh, there is a problem over here. And for colorectal cancer, we do colonoscopies every 10 years for people above the age of 45, and there are also other tests that are done every year to check if there is blood in your stool, which could come from, it could be from cancer, or it could be from a polyp. And once the colonoscopy is done and some tissue that is abnormally seen, a biopsy is taken, and it will be taken for histology. Then if cancer cells are identified, you start treatment and management immediately. Then for prostate cancer, there is a blood test called prostate specific antigen, PSA. I think most people know about these, and it can be done to, it's on case-to-case basis. It can be done to men, and it can be done in together with the digital rectal examination, just to see how the prostate feels, and if it feels abnormal, they will take, if it feels abnormal and looks abnormal on imaging, they can take a biopsy and see if there are cancer cells or not. Then for cervical cancer, there are multiple ways to screen for that. We have HPV DNA testing that is usually done to women above the age of 30 years old, and it's the gold standard. It's very unlikely to miss. a cancer. Then we have the conventional pap smear that I think most people know about. We also have some visual inspection with acetic acid. That's usually done in resource poor settings. And for cervical cancer, the HPV vaccines that are available, they were rolled out, should be around 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
That helps with prevention of cervical cancer. It targets the commonest HPV viruses that cause cervical cancer. I think should be, it depends on the vaccine, but I think all of them target 16 and 18, which cause about 70% of cervical cancer. Then for esophageal cancer, we do endoscopy, and endoscopy is usually done on very high-risk patients, and it actually does not have a minimum age. It's on case-to-case basis to determine like who needs an endoscopy and who doesn't. And all these things that I have mentioned are done at KUTRH, mammography, colonoscopy, the fecal blood test or immunochemical testing, the HPV DNA, as well as endoscopy. So I think people should screen as early as possible, because once the disease is diagnosed early, treatment can start as soon as possible, and someone has better outcomes when it is diagnosed earlier, as opposed to waiting until you have symptoms, and that's when you go. Then in the worst case scenario, you're told that your disease is at stage 4. So like it moved from stage 1 to stage 4. Where were you all this time? And I feel like we usually underutilize all these screening services, because we can always go to a health facility maybe every year, every 2 years, to just check and see how things are going. Sometimes you will not find something, sometimes you will find something, and if you find something, that is good, because you can start taking care of that something right there.
All right.
Yeah.
To our viewers, remember you can get to be part of this conversation. If you have any questions for our doctor this morning concerning cancer treatment, and specifically when we're looking at palliative care, feel free to send in your messages. The number is 0716-103-301, 0716-103-301. Send us a message via WhatsApp, and we will be sure to sample all your messages as they get to come in. Now, Doc, as you've just mentioned, you've said that most of these facilities or resources that are available are underutilized. Maybe what would you say is the thing, or what is causing this underutilization? What is it with us as Kenyans that is stopping us from, going to get checked as often or frequent as we should?
I can say it's because of poor health-seeking behavior. It could also be because of people who do not have insurance. They do not want to. It's actually expensive to pay cash for healthcare. So if someone does not have insurance, someone wonders, I don't feel sick. Why should I go to the hospital to pay money and check? And then if they don't find something, or sometimes someone can come, then they expect you to find something because they have paid. So if you tell them there is no problem, they're like, I wasted my money. But no, they haven't wasted their money. I know it's difficult. We have difficult times in Kenya, but it would be good to do a yearly or a 2-yearly checkup every now and then, just to be sure that things are okay, so that you're able to take care of things before they advance.
Yeah, there's a doctor who advised and said that every time you're turning a new age, every time you're celebrating your birthday, give yourself a gift of going to the hospital and get checked. Just get screened for everything and anything,
Yes.
So now when we get back to the non-medical interventions, when we talk about the probably palliative care or compassionate care that goes hand in hand with the treatment that one may be having, what are some of these interventions that improve the quality of life? I've read of music therapy, so if you can talk more about, the several interventions that are there.
So there is psychological therapy where the patients gets to talk to a therapist, and they're able to like express their concerns and be guided and be validated on however they are feeling, and they develop a coping strategy on how to cope with things and how to navigate the problems that might arise during the treatment. As you have said, also music therapy, but I am not going to talk about that because I don't know much about it.
Okay.
Then, then there is also physiotherapy that patients can undergo if they are not able to walk, so that they're helped to try and preserve the function of walking, because if you lay down the whole day, every other day, your body might become very weak and you might have very difficulty trying to walk when you are able to, because you can even also get contractures and your body parts may not function as optimally as they should. Yeah, and also spiritual care. You can get spiritual leaders to come and talk to these patients, because I know faith and hope go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because if you have faith that there is God, you also know that God also wants good things for you, and keeping that hope is very, very important in the course of treatment.
All right, there's a question here that has come in. Someone is asking, is this aftercare treatment a package together with the treatment? Is this after treatment care a package together with the treatment now that it is expensive to treat? Does it come as a package, or it is paid separately from the treatment that one maybe the cancer treatment?
Is that about palliative care?
Yes.
I think it's an add-on, and I do not think that is paid for separately, because the people that offer this kind of care are the doctors that are treating you, the nurses that are seeing you, so it is not paid for separately. It is part of that management, and I think the workplace cultures in different places are different, and we actually need the standardized care, so that when someone goes to one facility, they get that. When they go to another facility, they don't get that. Then there is that disparity. So I think it should be standardized, and everyone should be able to offer these, especially level 6, 5, 4, and even, if possible, level 3 facilities should be able to offer these.
All right. And in line with that very same question that one of our viewers has asked, I had a question on just how accessible is palliative care in Kenya?
For that, I am not very sure, but what I can tell you for sure that it is very accessible at Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital. And it's not just for cancer patients, but all types of patients who might need that. For example, patients with intractable pain, and they may need frequent reviews to see if the pain is well managed, if they are very comfortable, and so on. So what I can tell you for a fact that I am sure about is that we have that at KUTRH.
All right. Just how do you go about measuring the success of palliative care? What do you look at to get to conclude that, okay, that was successful?
That's a very difficult and complex question, but I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. So I think there are many aspects that you look at when you're dealing with palliative care. There is you, the healthcare worker, there is the patient, then the support of the patient. They can be relatives, they can be friends who come to visit, or just basically the next of kin. So sometimes if you compare these three groups, the outcomes could be related to one or something more. For example, you as the doctor can give your best, right? Then the patient receives it to the best of their ability. But the next of kin is not satisfied. But you did your best. Would you call that successful or unsuccessful?
Well, if you did your best.
The patient appreciates it, but the next of kin is not satisfied.
How do you deal with such a situation?
You sit down with them and find out where the dissatisfaction is coming from,
Yeah.
and you try to address that to the best of your ability. Yes.
All right. What challenges?
Yeah.
Because from that, I pick that maybe that's one of the challenges of palliative care, or professionals, healthcare professionals get to go through when it comes to them delivering palliative care. Maybe what are some other challenges that you would say you face, in that profession?
Yeah. So I think another challenge is that people actually do not totally understand, like, that when a cancer patient is treated, there are three possible outcomes. They could get better, it could remain the same, or they could even worsen despite the treatment because they are not maybe responding to the treatment, or because of other issues. So most people expect that the patient gets better. Even us, we really want that the patient gets better, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So dissatisfaction could stem from that, people not actually understanding that the disease could take three courses.
Yeah.
So I think people understanding that is also very, very important. And I think people should practice gratitude. And of course, if there is more to be done, more will be done, but we should also be grateful for what we have here right now, as we want to improve.
Okay. All right. I want to paint this picture. There's a situation here. Someone has gone to for their screenings, and unfortunately, it has been discovered that they have one of the cancers. Right. So if you are coming in as a palliative care, how do you begin to design the care plan appropriate for this person? What do you look at? How do you get to design it?
So I think the design of that is multidisciplinary. It's not based on one person, because the patient gets in by the doctor, by the nurses, then there is a palliative team, a nutritionist, but then you have to disclose the diagnosis, you let the patient know the diagnosis, you come slowly and let them process the feelings. Sometimes it takes time. If it takes time, you wait, you go step by step, because they have to accept the diagnosis, then they begin treatment. Because if someone says, I do not have cancer, but you have found the cancer, and they say, I do not need radiotherapy, I do not need chemotherapy, I do not need surgery because I do not have cancer. You see, there we have a problem, right? Yeah, so you take them step by step, help them understand what it actually means to have cancer. And as we have said, cancer is not a death sentence.
Yeah.
There are things that can be done to help you as a patient. There are things that can be done to make you feel as comfortable as possible. And I think with a multidisciplinary approach, everyone is able to suggest things and come up with a proper plan for each patient, because now it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. It's patient-centered. Every patient has their own challenges. Every patient has their own needs. And once you're able to address that is unique to every patient, I think everyone should be able to have some hope.
Yeah. All right, well noted. As we come to a conclusion of the conversation, maybe are there specific policy changes that you would love to see? Are there ways in which the public awareness efforts can be made in order to improve access to compassionate care?
I think policy changes that can be made are for increasing human resource, because if someone is overwhelmed by just the clinical aspect of their work, they might not be able to have compassionate care, to offer compassionate care, and they may not even have just time to sit down and listen to what a patient says, because some of these things usually don't take a short time, it's a very long time. And If you're short-staffed, it's very difficult to offer compassionate care if you're very short-staffed. So you definitely need to have enough staff numbers, have enough resources in the facility, and so on. And as I had said earlier, if healthcare delivery is standardized so that every facility is able to offer compassionate care and palliative care and support these patients, so that it's just uniform across all facilities and not just some specific facilities, that would really help, because like one facility, two facilities, or three facilities cannot serve the entire Kenyan population. So we really need to have people trained in palliative care and healthcare workers to develop their skills in compassionate care to be able to address such issues whenever they arise. And I think also integrating technology in healthcare can help with that. For example, I believe that some of these discussions can take place in online, like a patient can talk to a counselor online. I know it is best sometimes to be right there in person, but for example, if people are short-staffed, but you're able to get someone else who's not actually there, but they are able to help, I think that can also go a long way in helping out.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Emma. We appreciate your contribution on the show this morning. Thank you. Okay, this is where we get to end this conversation, as well as put a cap to today's Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so very much to each and every one of you who started with us in the wee morning of the hours until this point of the day. We do appreciate, and we do this each and every weekday morning. So we get to see you again tomorrow, God willing, same time and place. My name is Vivian Dagwa. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.